Hi everyone, in this video we are going to see an interesting topic. So let me start with some collection of images. So the first image, it tells about an exchange or transfer of money. Here the second image, it tells about exchange of books or exchange of goods. The third image, it tells about exchange of property or assets. And the fourth image, it tells about exchange of services. So in all these images, the common theme is exchange or transfer of items. So a word which matches this theme is called transaction. So we are dealing with database management system. So let us see what is transaction in terms of database management system. So, in DBMS, a transaction is any process a user performs after successfully logging in. For example, the user may do an online purchase like using an Amazon or Flipkart, or the user, they may pay the electricity bill or water bill in online. And next, the user, they may check their stock market status in the online, and they may also update their addresses in the Google Map. So these are all some of the common activities or processes the user will perform in the system. So whenever we are doing some operations in the system, we deal with some common problems or issues, like we may encounter problem like system crash due to power failure, or we may experience some hardware failure. So we may be in very important process. In that time, if suppose the hardware failure occurs, then we may be frustrated to what to do so, or sometimes some other operations which are running parallelly, it may interfere with the current operation, resulting in wrong data. So all these issues, it lead to an inconsistency state, that is whether we have the data or we don't have the data. It leads to a confusion state. So in order to ensure the consistency in the database, the transaction has to satisfy certain properties called ACID properties. So let us see what is ACID. That is, A stands for atomicity. Atomicity means all or nothing rule. Example, your parents has transferred some amount to your account. If it is credited, you feel happy, which means it is success. If it is not credited, you may feel unhappy, so it is failure. So a transaction should be in either success state or failure state. Either one should happen. Suppose if there is a network interruption during the transaction, so your processing, that is your transaction, may be in midway. So the rule is there should not be any midway in a transaction. The transaction state should be either end in a success or in failure, but not in between. This is called atomicity. Second is consistency. Consistency means the total amount of your account before transaction and after transaction should remain the same. That is, your transaction should not affect the total amount of your account. This is maintaining the same value. This we call it as consistency. Isolation. Isolation means, for example, say you are performing two concurrent transactions, where in one transaction you are reading the amount from the account, and in the next transaction you are crediting the amount or you are debiting the amount. Say for example, first you are checking your balance in mobile phone. Then after some time you are checking the same balance in the ATM machine. Now the second transaction, it deals with withdrawal of amount. When this transaction B, suppose if it happens in between the two reads of your transaction A, then the amount which we are dealing with transaction A will be affected. That is, your transaction A might read a different value. That is, if you are only checking the balance, that is transaction A deals with only checking your balance, means whether you check the balance before 5 minutes or after 10 minutes, it should remain the same. But if there is an interference between two transactions, then the amount which you are reading from your account, it shows difference in the two read operations. So this is we call parallel processing of transaction without interference. This rule should be followed in order to avoid inconsistency problem. The next is durability. Now you are performing a transaction, and if suppose there is a problem like system crash or network interferences occurs, how long it may take place after the problem gets rectified, the updated data should remain same in the database. If the data is not there, then it will lead to inconsistent state. So this is about the ACID properties, and these properties that got the name from the first letter of the properties. Now there are different states of your transaction. Say active, partially committed, committed, failed and aborted. So let us see what is active. Active state is the initial state. For example, let me take an example. You are recharging your mobile. So when you recharge, you may choose any plans like Airtel or Jio, whatever it may be. So you will search for the tariff plans for recharging, right? So this is your initial state of your transaction. Then now you have chosen one amount. What you will do? You will select the amount for processing. So once you have given OK, then it will be under processing state. That is one part of the transaction has been completed. That we call it as partially committed. So what it will tell? So the transaction has been initiated and this is your reference number. It is under processing. You will get a message like that. So this we call it as partially committed. The next is the amount that you have paid, that is credited in the agent's account, and it tells your recharge is successful. This state we call it as committed. That is the amount data got flushed into the disk permanently. This is committed state. Now due to network problems, sometimes you may get a message like unfortunately your payment request could not be processed, please try again, or there is a system failure, or there is an updation, whatever may be the problem. So sometimes your transaction may not be processed or it may stop in the midway, okay, automatically. This we call it as failure state. And the last is, now you are undergoing a transaction for a long period of time and there is a network problem persisting and you got frustrated and you have decided to stop or cancel the transaction. So you will abruptly stop the transaction. This we call it as abort state in transaction, that is cancel payment. Fine. So these are the different states of your transaction. So here coming to the conclusion part of this video, so we have seen what is a transaction and what are all the issues we will face when we perform transaction in a system. To overcome those issues, we have to ensure the transaction follows ACID properties. ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. Atomicity means all or nothing. That is either the transaction should go to a success state or to a failure state. Consistency means the value should remain the same before and after the transaction. Isolation means concurrent transaction should not interfere with each other. And durability means the updated value should persist even after the system crash. And the transaction, it falls in one of the different states like initial state, partially committed, committed, failed and aborted. So thank you.